So everyone keeps saying Israel versus Palestine, and the fact of the matter is that the only objective way to see the situation is by being able to say Israel versus Hamas. That everybody today, by today, you know exactly the level of the conflict that's taking place between the state of Israel and Palestine, but essentially against Hamas. It's definitely not a pretty situation. It's definitely not an easy situation to watch, to witness. The death, the destruction, the carnage that took place during the attack against the state of Israel. And then now everybody is wondering, what kind of response, Israel is going to take against Hamas. And again, I want to stay on this idea that this is not something against the Palestinian people. It's a misguided argument, and everybody keeps introducing this argument as a way to try to defend some of the actions that Hamas has done, or literally ended up doing when it came to killing all these innocent people, killing children, raping women, and even killing the elderly. It was a situation that, even though most people will say by now everybody should be used to it, every 10 years we see something like this happening in that area, nobody should be used to seeing so many people, so many innocent people dying. Nobody should be used to the idea that this is okay to witness. Everybody should be very scandalized. Everybody should be getting to the point of saying enough is enough. This is something that absolutely has to stop. But the problem is, if you keep framing the argument by saying Palestine or Israel versus Palestine, what you're trying to suggest is that there may be some level of innocent people that are fighting against a greater innocent group of people, right? And so who has the greater moral equivalency, or who happens to be in a more victimized position? That's a losing argument. There's nothing good that will come out of this situation if we don't have an honest conversation about what's taking place. The fact of the matter is that for many years, it is terrorist organizations that have been leading certain areas. They became the leading voices, to the extent of even at some point normalized as political entities. But at the end of the day, the goal remained the same. They don't want to really solve the issue. That by now, we already had we had 1,000 opportunities to really get to the point where not only there was a state of Israel, but also a state of Palestine. The people that keep rejecting that, at this point, it's not the state of Israel. There's no way to hide it. There's no way to, unless you want to purposely lie to yourself or be deceitful when it comes to this whole scenario. But the fact of the matter is that, guys, when we're looking at the whole narrative, we have to come to the conclusion that is 100% false. 100% false to keep saying that it's Israel versus Palestine. That is not going to help the conversation on any way, shape, or form. The fact of the matter is that if Hamas keeps taking the type of action and they keep committing the type of crimes, because that was an actual criminal activity that took place there, there's no way to hide it. For anybody that is looking for a resolution or to finally get a little closer to bring this whole situation to a conclusion, you have to accept the idea that this is not the way to go about it, that you don't have the right people in charge when it comes to even coming close to negotiating the whole situation and the whole scenario is taking place over there. Historically, since the moment that the state of Israel was created, it's very clear, and maybe understandably so, that many people are not happy about the location, the selection, the evolution, the additional expansion when it came to the geography of the state of Israel. I understand all of that, but the fact of the matter is that at this point, not only to the people the Palestinian people that have the ability to make a difference when it comes to dictating their own future and saying this is not going to take us anywhere other than seeing thousands and thousands of our own people dying over and over again. At this point, different choices have to be made. The Arab nations surrounding the area, that also at this point have to get involved on making a choice to at least accepting the reality that we're facing the definition of insanity. We keep doing exactly the same thing over and over again, thinking that we're going to get a different result. And it's extremely painful to see how many innocent people are going to die on both sides of the aisle. But I want to make it very clear that for anybody that's trying to make an argument that now Israel has to show restraint and they're going to have to pull back, is very unfortunate that it's Hamas himself who's actually asking people not to leave the territory, because, as they put it, they really don't care about death, dying. They just want to make sure that everybody knows how bad Israel happens to be. It's unfortunate that Israel is going to have no choice but to forcefully respond to what took place. Any country will do exactly the same. Any country will react forcefully. Any sovereign nation will not accept the idea of anybody just crossing the borders and creating the kind of terror that took place in that area and in that facility. But in addition to that, if we look at the history of every single difficult moment, every single painful situation that many people that already died in that territory and in that area, and we still don't have the ability to come up with better answers, and nobody wants to literally face the reality that this is not going to be the group of people that are going to be able to introduce peace, that we came very close to it, that it's the same bad actors that keep rejecting the idea of going into peace. Why? Because maybe at the end, that's not what certain people want. It's a false narrative to keep saying, well, but they just want peace. That apparently, and not apparently, it is very clear that some people in that area truly don't want any peace. Guys, there is a political component here, and there's also the religious component. The political component, obviously, everybody is trying to save face from their end. Everybody wants to make it very clear that they are going to advance their position no matter what. You know what? Every nation is supposed to do that. But from the religious also, the reality is that as long as you have this very strong difference about who is either the true religion, or if the fight is being motivated from a religious component, and you have Muslims versus Jews, and you also, even in the territory right now, you're going to see also Jews versus Jews. You have some of them that don't even agree. You've seen a lot of the Orthodox Jews even protesting here in New York and different areas, even in Israel at this point, even though they get every single one of the benefits of being part of Israel, but they protesting the formation of what they call the Zionist nation, or the Zionist state that was actually created, and according to them is not a true representation of the Jewish people. But the fact of the matter is that the state of Israel is a Jewish state. And the fact of the matter is that whether we agree or not, there is also a religious component that doesn't allow for that place to settle. And then you even have, obviously, Christians versus everybody else. Well, at this point, the Christian community in that area is tiny. It's super small. If I had a choice, I would like to see Christianity playing a bigger role in going into a territory, because I think it will introduce the opportunity to have greater peace, because they're guided by different principles. And so the religious component is also another one that is not going to make this scenario get any better. It's not going to be any easier to come to any kind of conclusions. I hope, what I've hoped for, and I'm inviting every single one of you, is to just raise your voices. This is a moment where everybody, you're going to have to take a position. You can't just ignore the situation, pretend it's not taking place, or let me stay quiet so I don't get myself into any kind of trouble. It is when good people decide to become silent about a situation because they fear that some level of controversy is going to come to you. The fact of the matter is that we got to raise our voices. We got to say enough is enough from a political aspect for every single politician on both sides of the aisle. That even including our own government in the United States, they have to get involved to come up with a better solution, a permanent solution, one where we have to say, okay, this one situation is done, and we don't have to worry about what's going to happen 5 years from now, 10 years from now. That is highly needed. If we don't take the step to come up with that solution, then all of us, every single one of us are part of a community of cowards that are not willing to face this very moment and assume that we also have something to do. We have to assume some level of responsibility because, again, we have to raise our voices and say enough is enough, enough killing, enough innocent people dying, just because people that are playing politics and playing religion don't want to come together, are not willing to really bring this to a conclusion. It's the rest of us that have to make our voices clear to say this is not acceptable anymore. We don't want to see this situation playing out right now the same way that we don't want to see it 10 years from now. So I'm inviting you to raise your voice. I'm inviting you to say something. I'm inviting you to make not only a comment here, but everywhere, so that people know that every single one of us, already had enough to see so many innocent people dying, to see that no prosperity is going to come into that place unless we make some tough choices, some mature choices, some God-fearing type of choices. So with that being said, listen, I appreciate your, staying in touch with everything that's taking place, listening to the message. Please comment, pass it around, let us know what you think would be a reasonable solution for that area, for that situation. If you have the ability to make a choice, if you have the ability to make a recommendation, what will you be telling not only governments, but also religious entities to actually do so that we can finally at some point see peace taking place in that area? So appreciate you watching, and we're going to keep you updated with everything that's going on in that place. And we hope and pray for this to end quickly and for many people to hopefully not lose their life, stay alive, and protect their families and their loved ones. So thank you. See you soon.